I think it's
I
scientifically
can prove the
possible.
Earth is round, and I will prove it right now if you let me
Again,
speak.
it's again you're just asserting the Earth is
No,
round.
I'm not.
The
I'm
Earth
certain.
and
Yes,
reality does
I'm
not fit the
100%
model at
certain.
any and all
Just let her
altitudes.
And I'm
speak.
I
using
think there's
one common
something
thing, the
more
sun,
important.
and the other common thing that every single living being, every single thing has a shadow. You know what shadow meters are, how to measure a shadow. I had
Yeah,
10 years ago, I had two shadow meters, and I
yeah,
put them at the exact same point, same pointing direction at 30 miles apart, and
yeah.
they were both facing south as I don't remember why I put them south. Sorry about that. I don't know the English word. Sorry. I put them towards south. If I'm wrong, if it's southeast, I messed those shit up. Listen, I put it towards south. Listen, at one point, the shadow was 7 centimeters shorter than the one 300 miles away at the same point in time, same
Yeah.
exact way it was pointing, like it was the same,
I get
every
it. We're
single
talking about
same
Aristophanes.
factor.
Yes, Aristophanes sticks in the shadow. Something that we all work on the presupposition that the Earth is a ball. However, this effect can be caused with a flat plane and a smaller and local sun. If you have a light in the middle of your room, put a stick underneath it, you'll get no shadow. Move the stick away and the shadow will get bigger. Does that mean that your room is curved? That is an alternative explanation which you are completely forgetting about. The Earth doesn't have to be a ball to cause this shadow in effect.
How come when
Right.
the
Has
moon
everybody
and the
finished, or
sun,
can I?
when the moon is in front of the sun at one point in the it's blocking the sun?
I think he's meaning about a solar eclipse, like an eclipse. I think he wants you
Solar
to.
eclipse, yes. Sorry, I don't know the
lunar
name. Sorry.
eclipse.
That's fine. You've got two objects in the sky, the sun and the moon, which look pretty much exactly the same size. One could cross the path of the other. Simple. It's not hard. You're working on the
No, you just said they are the
presupposition.
same exact size.
You're working
Doesn't
upon
mean
the presupposition.
the moon.
Hold on. You're working on the presupposition that the Earth is a ball within the heliocentric model. The sun is of a certain size and certain distance, and the moon is smaller and local. But to you, the observer, they both look exactly the same size. One could cross the path of the other. Now, if you're going to start talking about eclipses, lunar eclipses do not work on your model. Otherwise, you will be able to explain a serenilion eclipse. Do you know what a serenilion eclipse is?
I don't think when I look outside, the sun and the
What are
moon
the other planets
same size.
in the space that you see through a telescope, for example?
Well, so again, we're going. Leading edge of a sphere at any and all altitudes. It should like a ball. You have to go to space and show me the ball. Math tells you that you should see it here. Go to an Earth curve calculator. That's why they're there. Think about it. If you can calculate the curvature of the Earth, if you can calculate the curvature of the Earth, go to an Earth curve calculator and see if it fits reality. We're dealing with reality, what we can prove. You telling me you got to go to space, breaking the second law of thermodynamics.
That's a law on a planet. The second thermodynamics law is a law on a planet. The vacuum outside the planet is a different thing entirely.
No. I'll break it down to you like this. Because your air pressure system is within that vacuum. The entire air pressure should disperse into the vacuum until you start asserting what the ball is and does, and gravity. Without direct evidence.
You got no scientific evidence to back your claim. The second law of
actually, yes, I do. I've got one natural law, which isn't scientific evidence, it's natural law. 2, you've got no science to back your gravity. Science is on my side. 3, you can't science shape. 4, you can't science axial rotation.
Because that's not science, that's just shapes.
Wait, why can't you
scientifically jump out and jump back in? You're getting really tinny. I'll be back in 5 seconds.
Why can't you scientifically measure the rotation of the Earth? Like, why is that not possible?
Because it's really fucking fast.
I don't know about you, but when I go outside and I look at the sun and the moon, they don't look the same size.
Exactly. They look exactly the same size. You've got to do mental gymnastics and believe in a story that the sun is of a certain size and distance. There is no actual measurement of the distance to the sun unless you want to start believing in your heliocentric model working on the presupposition that the Earth is a ball of a certain size. And the sun is of a certain distance.
It exists only on a planet that is under a vacuum.
Can I just say, wait,
the vacuum
do you understand what a theory
on a
is?
planet? It's not something that is in space. The space almost has no laws because it's a vacuum. It has very few laws that affect anything.
Yeah.
In the usual.
Can I ask a question?
Way.
To the flat Earth believers.
Mate.
So the sun, right? It's it represents to be a big explosion, as it says, and we don't hear it because it's space. Nothing can carry the sound to us. But if because I've heard some theories that people don't believe in like the space thing, so what really is like the sun, then if it's just a floating light bulb that is like going around us, I don't really get it.
No, it's fine. You're working again on a model. You're told what the sun is and what it does. The sun in itself breaks the second law of thermodynamics because of the heat differential between the supposed core and the surface. Goes against the second law of thermodynamics. As a flat earther, we will not claim to know exactly what the sun is, but there is no proof to prove what the sun is unless we start affirming the consequence.
And it's going around. What's pulling that sun around the flat?
So we are going to talk about dielectrics and electromagnetism. The sun could be made of plasma for all we know. I suggest you look into electric universe theory.
Is made of
the whole world is made of electrics, negative and positive charges, magnetism. This we can prove and assert as fact.
You know what a black hole is?
This a made-up concept by Einstein. It is theoretical. It is not proven.
All right,
the black hole
is what a theory is.
No. A scientific theory comes after the scientific method has proven cause. When we've established cause, we can then go on to make a scientific theory.
Yes,
theory is a word that people. There is a word that people band around because they've got ideas. A scientific theory comes after the scientific method.
Wait. Could I ask a question about the sun? Is the sun moving?
Yes.
Or is it stationary? It is moving.
The sun is moving.
Okay. Well, because if the sun's moving, is it changing velocity as it moves? Is it accelerating?
The sun is said to be local and circling between the tropics of Capricorn and Cancer throughout the year. It is said to increase in speed and ascend as it goes outwards, and decrease speed and descend as it comes inwards.
Okay, so if it's accelerating, then it must have a force exerting on it. What force is exerting on the sun?
It could be dielectrics, electromagnetism. It could be plasma. It could be electromagnetic. There is obviously an electromagnetic field.
The Earth was flat. It would, if you, by your theory, it would actually have to be a pyramid cone shape.
What, the circle of the sun that we all observe? There's a light in the sky. From all that you and me can obviously see, there's a light in the sky that is round.
What is the size? What is the size of the sun?
We don't know.
How large is it?
Don't know. Don't know how far away it is, pardon you. We don't know how far away it is or how big it is, but it is not 93 million miles away and the size that it is. Again, the sun in itself breaks the second law of thermodynamics. This is up a story to pummel the crap out of your one. However, it could be plasma. There are other reasons that you're obviously not looking into.
Please stop. Your argument is I don't understand.
That much heat. If it was plasma, it wouldn't heat up the planet. The planet would be cold.
Listen.
Plasma isn't that hot. It is hot, but not as hot as magma. Magma could melt.
Plasma can be hotter than magma. What are you talking about?
In some cases,
what are you talking about?
Fire is a plasma, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
It is a type of plasma, but the plasma he's talking about is a different type.
What do you mean?
He didn't specify which plasma he was talking about.
Yeah.
He just said the plasma, a large mass of it, could create heat.
Can I speak for a second?
Exactly.
It's magma.
Don't you feel like it's more like kind of more logical that we are we are rotating around the sun that is
right
in space instead of the sun magically say we don't like a light bulb that's magically floating around us. Same with the moon. Like
right.
You can't really prove.
I can just say that I can literally say the same thing about your gravity because you've got no proof of it. You're using magic to fix the holes in your model.
The gravity is like the worst example for this, but because no one knows what gravity is even if they were supposed to be round or flat. So let's just think away gravity in this conversation.
Yeah, but the one way you can.
The theory I put is pretty much explains what gravity might be. As I said, I didn't say it was for sure. I said gravity is because every single thing that you see is like a magnet. It's not that big of a magnet. It's not felt, but gravity might be affected by how the Earth is fully a magnet, and every single thing is getting pulled by that, and plus the vacuum that's outside the planet that gives pressure to the planet and makes gravity. That's a
How does a
theory
vacuum give pressure?
It gives pressure because it's a vacuum inside of it.
Yeah, so exactly. So hold on. What is our air pressure pushing against? What is it pressing on? Are you air pressure by definition needs to press. Don't care if it's just air pressure or air pressure gradient. It needs to push. The Earth is said to reside within the vacuum of space. Do you see those images of how thin the Earth's atmosphere is? You're going to have an exponential force to fight off the entire vacuum of space. If I was a betting man, I would put all my money on the vacuum winning that one.
Same thing.
Thermodynamic natural law.
And water in the same cup.
Yeah, density.
The water stays on top. The oil is on the bottom.
Density.
That's the same thing. How the vacuum cannot go through the planet, through the what's it called?
No. This is the biggest false equivalency you've done so far. Your reason is fallacious. We can demonstrate this. It is a natural law. Again, I will read you Sir Arthur Eddington's quote.
Is this scientist,
philosopher, physicist, and astrophysicist. I'll read it again. There is nothing but to collapse in the deepest humiliation. You've got no proof, but only assertion based on the ball of what it is and what it does. You've got no proof. You're literally just making stuff up to fill the holes in your own story. You've mentioned about magnetics, and I've said to you, well, maybe the sun is going around and above our plane because of the obvious electromagnetic field around the Earth. You're giving a story of how that is made, based upon the presupposition that Earth is a ball and it has a molten iron core. There could be another reason for this.
There might not
what's
be
created
a core.
this
There
magnetic
might be
field?
a core, but not a molten iron one.
Yeah, tell me more about this magnetic field around the Earth and like what supports it and how it was created and what effect the sun has on it.
Right, so the realm in which we live in is obviously electromagnetic. We can test this, we can observe this. There is obviously the thing as called the ether as well. Now, Einstein had to throw the ether out to get his ideas in. However, the ether has been around for hundreds of years, so there could be an alternative explanation. There could be, for example, I'll just shut the fuck up, shall I?
Oh.
That's the attitude I don't like. You did the same thing to me earlier, and I got muted for it. And you said,
yeah, I didn't mute you. I didn't mute you.
Really
However, I'm trying to explain something to you, and it's not going in. There are alternative explanations for this, but you have to hold to your ball, don't you? Again, you can't prove your ball. It doesn't act or show itself to be a ball until you start putting us in this fantasy medium that you keep asserting exists, that breaks the second law of thermodynamics because of what the Earth is and does. You've got no proof for your assertion. Science is not on your side.
But we
Benson,
have.
I see a feed of
we have
Earth
photo
through a
proof.
satellite every single day. Maybe
You've got we've got satellites.
There, the message, the planet that's been taken a picture of, at the same second it got sent to me. It cannot be photoshopped in a quarter of a
maybe
second.
That satellite could be hanging off a balloon.
Nobody's that fast.
Why would
on a
me that
drone?
the Earth is flat when I can see images that get fed to me every single day, maybe even every single hour, depending on when I take it with the satellite. I can easily just click a button and I can get a message feed that accept that base is better.
Brilliant.
Okay, so you're just pressing a button and getting a picture. How do you know that picture is of right now, right this time? How do you know that that's not been already pre-processed and just sent to you at a later date? How do you know that is a picture of right now?
Because I was the one who set up that camera.
There's timestamps.
And also, it could be delivered to you some other way. We've got high altitude balloons, high altitude drones. No one's saying that these things don't exist. They are admitted by NASA that these things do exist. Satellites in space is the issue, but for me to turn demonstrated and observed and even admitted by NASA and other space agencies, it could be coming from an alternative source.
Can I have a second, please?
I just found a way to prove you wrong. You said helium balloon, right?
A balloon, a weather balloon, something that goes up. Come on.
I'm sure
listen. If
I have a
these
second?
balloons,
Hold on. I'm just going to say this, and I will get back to you.
No. Listen, I want to go back to this balloon thing. If these balloons are real, like, what's in them? Tell me more about these balloons.
Go to a NASA website, because it's exactly what NASA started doing before they started putting rockets up in the air. Weather balloons, lighter than
you say
air,
they're made of.
that
You
go
say
up
they're made
to
of
100 to 120,000 feet.
Let me explain.
You say they're made of like helium and hydrogen.
Lighter than air
He
gas.
just said weather balloon.
Okay, no. Lighter than air. If those balloons were real and they were filled with
obviously they have reached that equilibrium.
the thing is that the vacuum that space it's lighter than helium and air. Because helium is lighter than air, it stays in between something that's lighter than it and heavier than it, and it cannot go into space because that's so much lighter than it. It has no way to go into that location. It would just go back towards a planet that has a pulling strength that goes towards it. It would just go back from space into the planet and stay at that one spot until it pops or gets destroyed in some way, shape, or form.
So you work for a space agency, yeah?
Yes.
Hello? You work for a space agency, yeah?
Can I have a second, please?
I don't know English, so I make some mistakes. I know that already, but I didn't make a mistake now.
You have. You've made quite a few fallacious reasonings. The point I'm trying to make out, because I'm getting tired of going around in circles, is you're working for an agency, and it must be really, really hard for you to realise that they are lying. This is cognitive dissonance 101. It's also called plausible deniability. It's also called plausible deniability. There is a story. You've got people working in industries that report upon this story and work within this industry. However, I have given you alternative explanations of how you could be receiving your data.
But so why isn't all the evidence we have
that type of data when it's encrypted?
Wait, why isn't all the evidence that we have now enough? We have all the top Albert Einstein, Stephen Hawking, all those people have proven that the Earth is round. We have pictures of the Earth is round. They
worked on a presupposition of the heliocentric model.
Well, so Albert Einstein lied about
the shape of the ball. It's his own mathematical
construct. Albert Einstein actually investigated the shape of the Earth? He was a theoretical physicist. He didn't do experiments.
But he could do math.
Also, there was someone earlier on mentioned about the pictures.
He could do really good math and equations. And easily calculate the shape of the Earth.
So it's not really a big deal.
Yeah, someone mentioned timestamps. Okay, I did photography. Do you know how easy it is to put a watermark on something? And as soon as someone clicks a button to get these so-called pictures, it's so simple just to put a timestamp of when you click the button. It's not that hard. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to create something to do that.
So you're saying all these pictures are created?
Yes.
Well, if you got the picture yourself.
You're moving.
So the live stream that NASA has 24/7 of the International Space Station rotating, is that just fake? Is all the pictures of the Earth just fake?
Listen, there's a live stream of the Loch Ness Monster.
And I worked for an agency, and I made my own.
Right, there is. That thing was real.
Camera that's on a satellite that takes pictures of the Earth all the time. You cannot prove me wrong when those pictures are only coming to me and some other people in my agency. It's not rocket science, as you said. It cannot be manipulated when it comes at the same second it's been taken.
You could be.
The balloons, don't they have a limit though? I swear it's only 20 miles because they reach equilibrium. These balloons are huge. I'm talking the size of a football pitch. These balloons are massive.
And has anybody taken a picture of one?
Yeah. Go to NASA. You can watch them launch them. Which story do you believe? They launch balloons and they launch rockets.
I have a question. How do you explain the
stations?
Hey, real quick, before anybody asks any questions, can I say something real quick? Indio, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hey, can you switch your live stream to off voting polls? Put it on something else.
You want me to put it on what?
Oh, your live stream is on voting polls right now. Just letting you know.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, man. I think there wasn't a vote.
Yeah. All right, so I came here. Hope you guys are having a good time. I'll talk to you guys in a little bit, man. I'm at my parents' house. But I just noticed that on your live stream that it's on voting polls.
Yeah, I must have forgot to switch it. Thanks, brother.
You got some good employees. There's some loyal people.
There's some great people around here. It really, really is.
Yeah.
It's a lovely little community. But anyway.
wait. Let me just finish. What do you think if the Earth is flat, as you say? If you go at the end, end of the flat Earth, what
Ice
do you
wall.
see there? Don't stop.
What's at the end of the
What
Earth? Is
do
that what you
you
said? Like, where's the edge? Is this like, where's the edge question?
edge? Is there an edge, as you're saying?
No, there's no edge to the Earth.
So
See,
you're
this
saying that
is
Earth
this is
is
where I
infinite?
come in
So
as
you just teleport
Actually,
to
some flat
the same
earthers say
location you were at.
isn't.
No,
Well,
so
or
you've
straight
never even
line.
seen like an azimuthal equidistant map, right? Have you seen like the flat Earth quote unquote
watch
map?
maps all the time. I work with maps. I make maps. I know what they are.
Yeah,
I know
so
how to make
have
one
you
completely.
seen the azimuthal equidistant map?
Map is the corners of a map are stretched.
You're not answering my question.
Stretched.
The flat Earth map, the people say is the flat Earth map. Have you seen it before?
Yeah, I've
Yes,
seen
I
it.
have. I have.
Okay, so why are you asking if you just teleport? Obviously, you would go in a circle if you want to go east to west.
Yeah, but what about north to south?
Well, no one's ever done a north to south circumnavigation on a single meridian, have they?
I have.
You did north to south
traveled in
circumnavigation on a single meridian.
But there have been reports that people have done that.
But listen, it's not on a single meridian. So, like the transpolar expedition, what they did was they went up one side of the Atlantic Ocean and then down the other.
Hmm.
So they didn't go like around the ball. That's not what they did. But since I have like the floor, so I wanted to say something about people that think that measuring things is somehow should be a scientific method experiment. Then every carpenter on Earth is a scientist. Okay, if measuring things is science, then all carpenters are scientists. It's silly, dude. Like that's just silly.
Most of the things you say do work is science. Even a cook is a scientist. He makes theories about how to make.
No, a cook is a chemist.
No.
Right. Do I need to explain the scientific method to you?
Well, I just overheard earlier that like someone was like coming out of their head because he said, measuring things isn't a scientific experiment. But if measuring things was science, then anyone that measures is a scientist by definition.
Yes, they are a type of
well, no, you do not see what my friend's saying to you.
They're building a building across the street. I'm going to go see the scientist tomorrow morning.
That's why they have.
Not going to go see an engineer. Not going to go see an architect.
They cannot
be
be scientists.
The shit out of shit.
For their jobs. They are all scientists, but they have a specific name for the job they are doing.
Do you? Sorry.
Well, I agree with you that everybody's a scientist. In the sense that he was talking about it.
A builder, if they had no different type of name for the science they do, or as you said, chemist. If you never met them, never knew them,
right. I'll tell you what a scientist is. I'll tell you exactly what a scientist is. I'll tell you what a scientist is. A scientist is anyone who follows and adheres to the scientific method. That is it. Science is interested in cause and effect relationships only. If you cannot manipulate your presumed cause of the phenomena that you've observed, then you are not doing science. You are just making observations, and then you've got your thoughts and feelings of what that is doing.
Scientist, a cook.
All right.
A cook.
Right.
Right.
Hold on. What, according to you, is the scientific method?
Cook.
So
no.
He's a chemist.
Listen, let me ask you a question. Why is cause and effect the scientific method and nothing else? I'll tell you, it's empirical. That's why. Because the other things that you guys call experiments, they're not empirical. They're just observations.
And also, I asked you for the scientific method. You said cook. Cook is not the scientific method. What is the scientific method?
You don't need to make fun of
method from this man.
A scientific method in cook.
No, the scientific method.
Is this the guy that works at a freaking satellite company or something?
Yeah, doesn't know.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly that.
You're full of crap, dude.
Also telling me what science is.
I'm a freaking horse rider.
So, I want the scientific method from this man without just one word, which is cook. That is not the scientific method. That a description of what someone does.
I could explain the scientific
method. That is a description.
Awesome. Thank you, my friend. Can you explain the scientific method, please?
So, would you come up with a question first?
I do not know
is that the
what
first step?
Scientific method is, but it is a scientific method.
I say you
pseudoscience.
I say you ask a question. Is that the first step?
Do you know what? I'm going to in a minute. I'm talking to my friend about the scientific method. I'm going to give you
He's got verbal diarrhea.
Answer.
This guy's just talking over people, man.
Listen, let me say this. This is not actually the debate channel, so I don't know even why we're debating. See, the thing says Flat Earth beginners. You're supposed to just be asking questions and listening to the answers, not arguing.
I'd like to ask a question.
So, my friend, asking a question, scientific method, step 1. What are you asking your question about?
I thought this wasn't the debate channel.
It could be anything, really.
Yeah, okay.
He's trying to get your idea.
The step after that would be doing some background research or something like that.
Right, okay. Right, I'm going to have to do this. All right. Step 1 in the scientific method is to observe a natural phenomena. You ask a question about that natural phenomena, which is, what causes that natural phenomena? We then go on to step 2, the building of your hypothesis, where you have a prediction, your presumed cause of that effect. You then move on to your the experiment where you manipulate one independent variable at a time to see if it has the cause of the effect. You then repeat and validate. 4 steps. Observe a natural phenomenon, build a hypothesis, do an experiment, repeat and validate. After you've done the scientific method, you can then move on to scientific theory, taking what you have proven as empirical fact. Theories are not your thoughts and feelings. This is a colloquial term. Same thing as experiment. People seem to think that dropping a ball is an experiment. It is not.
Science at this point is a colloquial term.
Well, science is banded. Yeah, exactly. Science is banded around as this kind of great big weapon because science says. You are reifying science by saying that science says anything because science is a method and the method alone. Anything outside of this method is classed as pseudoscience. You are then dealing with correlation and not cause of effect.
All right.
Okay, I have a question.
Can have 1 ground-based towers. Again, we can start looking at balloons that are high in the atmosphere. We can have drones and high-altitude planes.
So you think there's balloons, drones, and towers on the ground?
I don't think. I know these are admitted.
Okay, where are they?
Differential
where are
GPS.
the towers?
Differential GPS.
Okay.
Okay, so let me give you a little information because I don't think you know very much about this particular item. So the LORAN system was invented in the 1940s, right? It uses the exact same in space relative to towers. GPS is a passive system. They do not communicate with satellites or any other thing. The towers or satellites, if you want, act as a beacon, and all they do is send out a signal. Beep, beep, beep. This is where I'm at. There's a timestamp in the signal, and when the receiver gets the timestamp and says, hey, it took this long for it to get to me, this satellite must be that far away based upon the speed of light. So you get 3 towers, and you you get all the times and all their distances, and you can trilaterate your position from that information. So that can work with anything, and as it did work with anything during the Lorraine system. And there was a Decker system which they put in cars, which was also the exact same thing.
Yeah, but what if
we know there's ground towers GPS area? Because there's two systems called differential GPS and WAS. So WAS is used at airports. Okay, so it uses a combination of what you would consider GPS and VHF because they need very accurate positions because you don't want a plane landing, in a city. So they use these systems exist. It doesn't require satellites at all.
Could I ask a question?
Yeah, man.
What if you're in a very rural area because ground terminals only work until a distance?
Again, high altitude balloons, drones.
I mean, I would need evidence to actually work in a rural area. I mean, I live in a city. I live in a major metropolitan city, and in the area I live in, these 5 blocks, GPS barely works. Barely. I watch people drive around lost all the time, walk around lost. I mean, so it could be the height of the buildings blocking the signal or whatever, but I don't know. It barely works where I live. So whether it works in rural areas, I'd have to see that.
About these balloons, what keeps them from drifting off into outer space or the lack thereof?
They get neutrally buoyant.
This has been explained.
So I can give you evidence of the balloons that they existed even before the space program. In the 1950s, there was a program called Corona. Okay, if you look, there's a website that has the Living Memory program. So they took testimony from people that did this National Reconnaissance Office where they worked for him. So this particular testimony is from a particular Lieutenant Mitchell. And this interview is him telling what he did in the program. So they would launch balloons. The balloons had gondolas with cameras on them, and they would float these balloons over wherever they wanted and take basically spy pictures. The balloons, he said, would stay up from 8 to 16 weeks. During the daytime, because of the sun hitting them, they would get the air inside the balloon would get hotter, and they would rise to 120,000 feet. And at night, they would drop to 80,000 feet. When they got the estimated time when the film was done, the whole roll, they would fly to where the balloon is, and send it a signal, and it would burst the balloon, and they would catch it out of the air. It was called a skyhook. And they would catch these balloons out of the air, reel the gondola, and land and take the film. They did this for like a decade. So balloon technology, or floating balloon. And there's one that crashed in South America. There's pictures. If you go to a YouTube channel called Planete Veritas, that's PLANATEVERITAS. He has documentation, like government documentation, of balloons being launched, balloons being recovered that were supposed. Space Center in Sweden, I think it is, and he got the whole list. So in this particular video, you can watch him go through this documentation, whole list. A couple of them were named Mir, Cheops, and these are supposed to be satellites, not balloons, and they were launched. It's like a 3-hour video of just him going through the documents. This is like things like this. You actually have to dig in and research. The information isn't going to just fall into your lap. You're not going to find it by just Googling.
All right, can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is the Flat Earth Beginners, right? So, basically, your model, does it go by the assumption that a god created the Earth?
Right. No, it's not an assumption to say that the necessary antecedent for a created environment is a creator. It is the necessary antecedent. Now, we're not going to start commenting on the personality of such deity, but however, when you realize that you live in an obvious created environment, the complexity within it, the necessary antecedent is a creator. It is probably why they are hiding it.
No, but can I say that's if I'm not wrong, that's the watch analogy, the stopwatch analogy. Basically, it claims that if you found a stopwatch or a pocket watch, was it just some watch that is very complex? If you were just walking around, you found it, would you believe that it was created out of nothing? Now, that is a poor analogy, and it basically states that if two entities share the same aspect, well, yes, share some aspect in common, they must share the same. They must have been created by the same thing or something like that. But that is wrong.
What we're talking about in basic terms is something called ontological primitive. Now, you've got a dichotomy because all arguments will come down to these two things: creative source, intelligence, or natural creation, i.e. Big Bang, billions of years will make genetic code, for example. So it's the ontological primitive. It's only these two things. All arguments come down to these two things. It is not a false dichotomy.
No, but what I mean to say is that this is like basically the thing. If you say that it is impossible that we have been created by natural selection, or we have come to be from natural selection or evolution or everything we have used, that because we're so complex, we have to have a creator. It's just a blind analogy comparing it to, for example, an object that is complex or something. We are not random, and our explanation is evolution. And I don't. How would you debunk?
Easily.
There's no way to abiogenesis. Bam, done.
What?
Abiogenesis, life, organic material from inorganic material. We know of no chemical pathway for that to happen.
And just because we don't know of it, that means it doesn't exist.
Yeah,
well, no, that would be an argument from ignorance, but to assert that that you can get to evolution from no way to get there. Listen, let's do this. The odds of a single protein being created by chance is something like 1 followed by 164 0 years for that to happen. So they don't even know how a carbohydrate, lipid, or complex sugars or molecules are even made. The ones that are produced in nature, and they know what in synthetic chemists, they know what they're trying to make. Right? They have their target. They're like, I'm going to try and make this. I'm going to have all my chemicals ready. I'm going to be able to control the environment in which they're in. I'm going to do it in the right time so that the chemicals don't degrade and the precursors don't degrade, and they can't do it. So how does nature do it with no target? Idea that just a long time will make it work. Well, a long time degrades chemicals, so any precursor that degrades, right? A long time, 20 minutes went by, you didn't react, you got to start over. Okay, there goes another 20 million years. Now we have the right chemicals in the right place, and one's missing, or it wasn't the right temperature, or it didn't happen fast enough, or it wasn't in the right concentration. These are like, to just say, there's some chemical reaction that happened, and it's just boom, a lot of time. That's just whistling past the graveyard.
But that, it's just literally, you're not giving me one better. You're just telling me.
I don't need to give you one better. I don't need a replacement theory.
Right,
I really don't.
Listen, if someone the Earth is flat, if you cannot explain its origins, now we try to explain it, and we have.
So wait, you're explaining evolution and the origins of the Earth. So like the birth of organic life at the start, and how it evolved. Is that what you're meaning, or am I picking up on that wrong?
No, you got that right.
I mean to say that that
Okay, so if you're
so
talking about the birth of
or
organic life and how it started and how like the world formed, and you move on to unicellular life and how it all started, what are they feeding off of to multiply and evolve if there's nothing to start with? Like you're saying in evolution, but how does it evolve from nothing? What is the first thing? And you can't explain that. It starts off like how are they multiplying and evolving when they can't eat or feed off of anything to evolve and grow?
If
So,
not,
like,
then
what did the first form of life eat? There was
Yeah,
nothing
basic
there.
scientific question. What were they eating?
well, we
ground?
know of life forms now that
Lava?
survive purely off of non-organic material.
Yeah, I know. It's
It's
been
But the thing is,
entirely
we can't
possible.
prove, we can't describe what those original uniformular life cells actually started off.
Right, yeah, but
multiplying
we
and-
do have examples currently, right now, that do prove
Like
that
what?
it is.
Tell me some. Tell me
But-
some.
Not all of us believe that.
There's
the Earth
there's
has been around
microbes
that
that
long.
live under the sea that feed off of sulfur vents. They just absorb
That's
the
what I was-
chemicals into their body, the elements.
And okay, and this one
So
in particular
if
managed
it's
to
But
form
they're
physically-
all
also not
humanity?
carbon-based life forms, so that's another problem.
Incorrect, they are carbon-based. Which
No,
life
they're
forms are you
sulfur-based.
referring?
They're sulfur-based. There's
Sulfur-based.
microbes that live on thermal vents under the ocean that are not carbon-based.
I think you're mistaken.
No, you
I'm
can
not
actually go and check
mistaken.
this
This
out
is
for
shit I
yourself.
learned like 20,
If
30 years
they
ago.
weren't carbon-based, they wouldn't be able to survive on.
They live
Listen to the man-
undersea in high pressure next to volcanic vents. They're never exposed to air. They're microbes.
Can I just say that my argument was basically that, well, my point in saying all this was just I don't understand how the earth was formed, therefore God. That's my whole problem with this, with religion.
Well,
and
we didn't bring up God. You did.
No, I asked, how do you think this earth, this flat earth with this dome and spaceless, came to be? And they told me a creator with not non-specified personality, I guess. Yeah, each person believes in a different god or gods. But basically, they were stating that there has to be a creator. So
There has to be a creator, but so far from religion, there are multiple creators. Which one's the creator that created this earth? If there's multiple of them, then who did it?
Listen, you're trying to dismiss. Oh, sorry to interrupt you, but you're trying to dismiss flat Earth with just like the usual
With
infinite
religion.
regression fallacy. What came before that? What came before that? What created God? What created God's God? Et cetera, ad infinitum.
Oh yeah.
It's a useless exercise.
You're right. He's right. It's pretty much philosophy. What are you saying?
I mean,
Really
if
quiet.
May I start a discussion relating to, or
I mean, I
the
just
guy
have
that I
one
wanted
thing
to talk to just left? So, oh, he's back. Okay.
Can I just finish just one thing,
Go
saying?
ahead.
Or?
Yeah, okay,
So-
you finish, and that's the last thing about religion, because that's not what this
All right.
chat is for.
No. It wasn't about religion. It was just saying that this other guy, I don't know who it was, but he debunked someone because he was saying that you're basing your evidence on the fact to the origins of things. Like you are supposing that a god created this, or you're supposed, and we are trying to explain something from, for example, the Big Bang or what.
It's a logical
It just makes
deduction.
more sense from the origin.
Again, I don't want to talk about this ad nauseum. It's an ontological primitive. You have a dichotomy which is not false. It will always end up on two sides of the argument: intelligence created or nature created, i.e., Big Bang, billions of years, and hope.
Yeah.
It's something you need to look into for yourself, mate. It really is. And there's probably some kind of deep down thing inside you that is, you don't want to look into this because you've got a preconceived idea of possibly what God is. That's why we don't comment on the nature or the will or the personality of such deity. It is the ontological primitive. You've got two choices.
All right, and I choose Nate.
That's your choice. You are free to believe whatever you want, mate.
Fundamentally, it's a belief on which deity it is, or all the other details. It's a belief. Science doesn't answer questions of belief and metaphysical questions. So, I mean, I don't even know what we're talking about that.
Yeah, so let's get on to flat Earth.
The honest question: do you believe the world?
Are you in a flat Earth Discord server asking if we think the Earth is flat?
There are globers in here, but
yeah, there are globers, but like if you can click on it and see who's who, like you can read tags.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah, but
you posted a GIF.
No. What I'm trying to say is, our whole life we have been told that the world is round. Do you believe in? Why do you believe now that it's flat? It's not. It's never been proved.
We know now. Like there's plenty of things to back up a flat Earth that don't back up a round, and vice versa. That's why I'm on the fence. By the way, you can believe in a globe and still be on the fence with it, because there's plenty of things that have been said to me that I can't physically prove for a globe Earth, which are facts, scientific facts. Especially like a lot of the stuff Exposed says. What he says is scientific. It's like when you're in a plane, you should be able to see an edge, a curve, a drop, and you can't see that. There's so many things that don't fit with a globe model. Like honestly, it's you can be on the fence and still sort of believe in a globe Earth, but just listen and understand that there are things that you can't explain.
Well, what you're trying to say is the world's flat, yeah? So I say my bed, okay? I'm at one side of it. How do I not fall off it then?
Because you're not stupid.
How do you fall off the floor?
When you get up. Fuck.
No, that's getting up. If the Earth, right, listen to this. If the Earth is a flat extending plane or realm, take it as the bottom of the universe and all the lights in the sky are revolving around or above us. You can't fall, you're presuming that because it's flat, there has to be an edge. I mean, how do you know that you could get to the edge, for example? Put it like this. You know what you know what a vinyl record looks like?
Yeah.
Yes? Right, so you've got your central North Pole pin and you live only on the label. Now, you've got an Antarctic treaty that stops you going to Antarctica, which would be the circumference of the extremity of the Earth that you can get to, as in an ice shelf or an ice wall, as some people like to say. This is because water is measured level, so it needs to be contained. What is past these areas, i.e. out onto the vinyl of that record, could extend into exponential distance that we have not gone to and we can't go to. Also, the area is dark. It's reached the limitation of the sun's light and heat. We're talking about an area that could be extremely harsh for human survival or exploration. We could possibly never get to the edge because it is so far away if there was an edge. Also, the necessary antecedent for air pressure is a container, which is where the idea of the dome comes from. Now, it could be anywhere. It could be extremely high and also translucent, and it also could reach out to the furthest extremities that we could never get to.
Because I was earlier on, I was in the philosophy one with somebody, and he was talking about the Antarctic Treaty. He mentioned the wall going the whole way around, and I asked him that no one can go over this wall, and he said, yes, it's militarized, you can't go over it. Every inch of this wall is militarized. If what this guy is saying, every inch of this wall is militarized.
So let me tell you something. There's a lot of people that are not flat earthers that come into this server.
He was a mod, by the way.
He was mod. He said he did not say that. No mod I know of.
Let me tell you his name, because I screenshotted it, because he actually muted me because I asked him about that, and I said that it was not possible to militarize the whole entire wall.
All militarized. The wall.
He said that it was militarized. There was other people in there. There was another mod in there as well called.
Well, below the 60th parallel was certainly militarized.
Right. Hold on.
I just don't see how, like,
Can I ask a question? Know how radar works. You don't need a man on a gun turret every 200 meters around this wall. You've also got certain areas of access, South America, and Australia, New Zealand. Very few things ever go from the southern tip of Africa, though, that they do. But you've got 3 areas at best that reach out to these areas, and these are the most common areas that people go from, for example. So we've got the majority of our scientific bases nearer to these places, like the bottom of South America and Australia, New Zealand, because they're easier to reach. Now, if you want to start talking about
I have a question.
Where would be
So about this militarization, right? Can anybody here who believes in flat Earth name a single person or a single military unit that guards this wall or this border?
Everybody who has entered into the Antarctic Treaty, we are talking about nations across the world. They are military companions and also scientific companions. You've got 3 ways to get down to Antarctica: military, scientific, or
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about more of the military aspect. Because a big part of the wall seems to be like there's a military guarding it. You can't go there. So like I just want to know who's guarding this. Like
I just don't think it's possible to guard every end of a wall, and if there would be some part that you could even just like get up
I'm
on
not
top
even
of
Right, he's rationalizing it by saying
Listen, okay. Hold on. There was a guy, he went to Antarctica, his name is Jarl Anderhoy. He's a Norwegian. Anderhoy, it's Jarleanhoy. Jarl Anderhoy.
Oh, dude, I'm not fast enough. Can you say one more?
Jarleanhoy. I think the last name's spelled. Anyway,
Jarl Anderhoy. Thank you.
Jarl Anderhoy. No, he tried to make an unauthorized trip to Antarctica.
And what happened to him?
He got arrested. His boat got sunk. 2 of his crew died. It's not a story I just made up. That was a news story. It's common knowledge to flat earthers, but it's not common knowledge to everybody. Put it this way: he got onto Antarctica. He tried to go in on a snowmobile. When he came back, he had no boat left. His boat was gone. His boat was at the bottom of the freaking ocean, and the 2 people he left there were dead.
Wait, so
okay.
Did you have a photo opportunity? Did you have control? Were you allowed to go around by yourself? Or was it an expedition where you had people looking after you because it's a very extreme environment?
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, I know.
Exposed, Jerry. Me and Jerry know each other, by the way. Exposed. You said something not about the military and scientific expeditions. You said there's 3 ways to enter the ice wall.
Yeah.
Now, are you talking
places
rather than just military presence? I want to know more about that and what you think, because if you look in the text channel for this voice Discord, I took a picture of an AE map and I just drew a red line around what the ice wall would be to like most flat earthers that believe in that ideology, and I'm wondering where the 3 entrances would be and what would be in place. What like for the rest of the ice wall, like what's there? I don't know.
No one has walked foot by foot around the circumference of this ice wall. No one has. Yeah, not public members. Maybe they have when we're talking about governments and the administrations and so on. The 3 access points are from the South America, Falkland Islands. The Earth. So, like I said, military, scientific, and exploration, like your friend just said. And when he went down there, it was a controlled environment. He had people looking after him, and he wasn't allowed to go off by himself because he's in an extreme environment.
But if you like search up on the internet, there's videos of people crossing the Antarctic. So like
yeah.
And also, what I don't understand is why
Henry
if there's what I don't understand is
Antarctic. Sorry, go on.
if there's like, you know, you said no one's like walked around it. Like, obviously, that's like a pretty extreme thing to do, to say you've like hiked around the wall of the earth. Like, is there anybody that's maybe like, you know, how that guy got off on a sledge and he went, you said he came back and his boat was destroyed? Well, I mean, did he sail along it for like 500 miles, 600 miles? Did he sail along and has got evidence of this wall being 500 miles long of sailing? Or did he just get to one part of it, get up and go on top of it?
Christopher Columbus, when he went down to the southern extremities, took over 3 years to circumnavigate this area. He got up over 70,000 or 60 to 70,000 miles in travel.